Welcome to Life Stories Podcast, People Helping People. I'm Shara Goswick, your host. My guest today is Stephanie Fluger. Stephanie started a clinic for children with autism in California, and she is not a therapist. She is not a clinician of any kind. She is a mom on a mission. In her journey with autism and her son, she found some things that were missing, things that not only did she need, but her family needed. And she decided to start the clinic herself. She has been very successful. She is helpful in involving the parents in the therapy and, really listening to what these parents and families need. If you've listened to me for any amount of time, that autism is a subject that is very close to my heart. And so I was excited to talk to her, and I love what she's doing. I hope that you are encouraged today, and I thank you for being here. Thank
Good.
you, Stephanie, for being a guest. I'm so excited to talk to you today. You work with something that is very near and dear to my heart, and that is children with autism. I have raised a son who still lives with us. He's pretty high functioning, but he lives with us. And, my heart kind of gravitates to anyone, any family, or any child with this kind of diagnosis just because I get it and I've been there. So I love what you do. And what I love even more is that you're a mom who stepped out to do something. You're not a therapist, you're not a
Yeah.
clinician. You are a mom who had a passion for helping
Yeah.
families.
Yeah.
So I want to hear all about Connection Therapy Clinic and how and why you got started with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So to tell you that story in Connection Therapy Clinic and where it came from, we're we're gonna go back a few years.
Okay.
My son, he is autistic.
Mhm.
He is about 9 years old. And we started the whole process back with when many parents started when he was 18 months old, actually,
Right.
even earlier than that, 16 months old. And we started missing milestones. It was the crawling and the walking and all that. And then we started delayed with speech and things like that. So we got into speech. Um, and that whole process kind of just started, as we all know that that happens.
Right.
And through this journey of 9 years, we've been in and out of clinics, in and out of programs. We eventually got our autism diagnosis, and all of that has happened. And I've realized through those experiences that there's no support for parents. There's no guidance. There's no roadmap. There is nothing there for us to tell us how to manage this. When you go out and be like, yes, I want to become a parent, and you talk with your partner and you have a baby, you know you're gonna get the sleepless nights. You know you're gonna get, some of the attitude from your kids. You know all of those things going into it, but never once did it cross your mind that I'm gonna have to start going through therapies. And it's not just like occasional here and there, it's daily therapy and
Right.
support and this isolation. You don't know any of this and you don't know how to expect it. And there's nothing out there right now that really gives you that support.
Yeah.
And so in this journey, I started to feel like either a cash cow or I was just a number. And my concerns that were happening at home, when I would speak to them, like to the clinic and be like, hey, this is what we're struggling. Oh, well, that's not a goal right now. So that's not something we're going to focus on. I'm like, but that's
Mhm.
what I'm struggling with. That's why we're here. I need that support. So I felt just completely ignored.
Yeah.
And then at my son's clinic, I was there for so many hours. I ended up being like, hey, why don't I help you with your social media or something like that? And then I saw behind the curtain a little bit and I saw how therapists also kind of are treated
Yeah.
equally as just like go, 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 burnout, which is why a lot of clinics have high turnover. And that doesn't help our kids either.
Right.
So I kind of stole my son's speech and OT and was like, hey, I have a crazy idea. Would you guys want to open a clinic with me? So that's kind of what happened. And that's the basis of connection, where we support the parents exactly what I felt like I was missing.
Yeah.
And we also support the therapists. And so we do speech, we do OT. I do a lot of parent support and coaching and things like that.
Yeah, I love that. My son, as old as my son is back then, it wasn't very common. And so there wasn't a lot of
Right.
information and help. So all of the resources that I got, I had to find myself. But it
Mhm.
bothers me a little bit that, that was 25 years ago and it's
Yeah,
still something that parents are having to search out and seek after, which really is kind of sad.
it is. It's
Kind of
it's
sad.
absolutely terrifying. And you would think that with so much time that and also social media that things would start to become a little bit more available, and it is slowly but surely, but you need to be looking to find it.
Right. Right. So, what makes your clinic different than other therapy clinics?
One of the main focal points that we have is that parent support as one of our core foundations. It's not about just seeing kids for their diagnosis and being like, "Hey, you are autistic, so we're going to have to work on social skills and we're going to have to work on, all of the stereotypical things." It's we approach each individual child as an individual child.
Yeah.
What are their likes? What are their dislikes? And we use those as the absolute basis of what it is to support them.
Yeah.
And we do child led, so child or individual led. So what that means is we will follow their lead on what they want to do for the day, what it is that our goal is. Because for some, one day they might show up and they're like ready to do some fine motor, sitting at a desk and like drawing. And the next day they might be so dysregulated that all they want to do is play in a ball pit or go on a swing or
Yeah.
something like that. And it's like, okay, the child that came 2 days ago is a very different child than what came today. And that doesn't mean we're doing this in a linear progression,
Yeah.
that we're doing this in for the child who showed up today and how can we best support them
Yeah.
and also best support the parents.
I love that you are focused on each child. Every child is different, but every child with autism is different.
Yeah.
They all have different needs. They all have, different ways to process things. So that's great that you do it like that.
Yeah.
And what are the ages that you work with? Is it into adults or is it just kids or
So we do all pediatrics, so
okay.
from 6 months, but we do go up to 17, and that's one of the
Okay.
things I personally love about the clinic when we designed it, is we actually have a youth lounge. So I designed one of our rooms to specifically cater to our older kids where it's like, very older designed. We've got like World War II planes on the wall. We've got like Taylor Swift things on the wall. It's like desks. We've got this humongous beanbag chair. And so it's much more comfortable versus a lot of other clinics
Yeah.
are designed more for kids,
Yeah.
where even if you're 9, 10 years old, you still feel too old for that environment.
Right.
So we created a space dedicated for our older kids.
That's great. For my son, it would be Carrie Underwood. So
There you go. I love it. I love it.
that's awesome. So I know that you really want to help parents and families. How do you involve the parents in what y'all are doing?
So the first thing is that at our clinic, and I've heard that there are other clinics out there that do not want parents to go into the therapy sessions. I have always been like a self-proclaimed helicopter parent. Always have been. And the first time someone will tell me that I can't be with my children, I'm like, I'm out. That
Mm.
this is like red flags to me. I need to be there. Also, therapy is only 30, 40 minutes in like a week or a day. How can I learn if I'm not there physically in the session?
Yeah.
So that's our first step is we are always inviting parents to come sit in the sessions, come learn, come talk with us. We want you engaged and we want you to be asking those questions because like we are just talking about earlier, these these tools and the resources that us parents need, they're not out there. We need to be asking the experts, we need to be asking the therapists, what can we do for my specific child? I'm going to digress a little bit and say, when you look up online, what can I do for my sensory seeking kiddo? You're going to get headphones, fidgets, and a weighted
Mhm.
blanket. Like, that's it. That is the only suggestions you will get. Well, I can tell you right now, those three things do not work for my son.
Right.
And it is infuriating when you're looking on the internet, and that's your only answer. So we need to go in and we need to engage with our therapists that have that experience to give us that unique, specific information for our kiddo. So
Yeah.
that's one component of it. The second thing is that my clinic has me, where I have lived these experiences. I've been in it.
Right.
I know the isolation, I know the emotional turmoil that we go through, and to be able to talk to another parent that has a support needs kiddo, it's just you don't need to say anything more than like, "It's been a rough day," and I'm like, "I see you. I
Absolutely.
understand." That's all you need to say,
Yeah.
and I'm here to listen.
Yeah. That's so good. I know that is so powerful for those parents because you do often feel alone when you're in that situation. It is a very lonely place to be. So that's wonderful that you provide that for them. What do you think are some misconceptions about therapy for kids with autism that people are believing?
I think parents are just very afraid of the stigma. I mean, we've come a long way, I think, in 20 years
Mhm.
as far as saying autism out loud, acknowledging autism. We have a ton of PBS shows that are doing so much advocacy
Mhm.
for autism and kids and awareness and things like that. But still there's a fear sending your kiddo to therapy and what is it going to be like for them, and it's hard, and I think that's the struggle that I think a lot of parents have.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. How how did you handle keeping up with your emotional health? Because like I said, it's a lonely place to be sometimes.
Yeah.
It's emotionally exhausting sometimes. How did you do it, and how do you suggest parents, kind of stay sane through all of this?
So I get asked that a lot.
Yeah.
I get asked by people like, "How are you holding it together? How are you dealing with these things?" And unfortunately, I don't have a good suggestion or advice because I'm always like, I'm already functioning at this level, so there's nowhere else for me to go. All right, already like at that threshold.
Yeah.
So now just adding more on is it just is. It's like my this is where I've learned to live in that survival mode.
Yeah.
Now I try to do things here and there where I can. I just recently did a talk about this.
Mhm.
Is what we're going through, the burnout of this emotional stress and the responsibility of our kids and our therapies and things like that, we need to start instead of focusing on what we're unable to do
Mhm.
and start focusing on what can we let go of.
Right.
It's more like pick your battles. Is this something that I'm ready to like throw myself on the sword for today? Or is it like, all right, we'll let this one go. And that's kind of what I've started doing on my day-to-day basis is what is worth the fight today and what is not worth the fight today. And that could be something as simple as like someone cutting me off on the freeway. Is it worth my emotional stress to get all upset and get angry at this person who cut me off? Or is it like, all right, fine, maybe that person was in a rush, they didn't see me, it was an accident, I'll let it go.
Yeah.
But then, someone bullies my son and I'm like, "Dude, I'm going. Stay out of my way. This is what I'm getting amped up for today."
Right.
So, that's kind of what I've had to do,
Yeah.
but I will admit I'm not the best example for that.
That's a hard thing for anybody to do. It is. One of the things that you talked about, and I read on your website, it was travel with autism. I know that y'all traveled for a while and then it got to be kind of difficult. Tell me all about that. I love this.
Yeah, so this was, like, almost a forced happy accident.
Yeah.
My husband and I, we've always been huge travelers. We love to travel, we love to submerge ourselves in culture. We go to random places.
Mhm.
And then when we had our son, we kinda stopped traveling. We'd go places that were, like, drivable, like, to the mountains and stuff, but we really didn't go anywhere.
Right.
We went to, an autism gala or something like that. They had a live auction, and I happened to win it. I don't think I was really 100% coherent on, like, what it was just exciting. I was wrapped up in the moment.
Yeah.
I was, like, looking at my husband, "Is this okay?" And it ended up being a trip to Fiji.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was amazing, and I was so excited, and then it got to the part of trying to plan it,
Yeah.
and, all right, the logistics, and at this point, our son was 6,
Mm.
and we had never left him. I have never left him
Yeah.
overnight at all, just because bedtime and all the things and the dysregulation, it wasn't worth it.
Right.
And so we're like, "Okay, well, we can't go to Fiji and, like, leave him. Who there's no one for us to leave him with,
Right.
that we felt comfortable." And we're like, "Do we take him?" And we also have a daughter. "Do we take the kids? Do we just go? What do we do?"
Right.
We decided to take the children. Um, and so it ended up being this amazing forced trip essentially because it was an auction, so there was a timeline to it of when we had to do it. And it just like it was a light bulb went on. And we're like, you know what? This is totally feasible. You just have to know what you need to do. You just have to be ready and planned and make sure that the accommodations are put in place.
Yeah.
And once you have that, you can actually go and take a trip to places more than like Disneyland,
Yeah.
which Disneyland is great, but there are other places in the world to go.
Right.
And so we go all over, like we just came back from going to Yosemite and we've taken the kids to other like
Oh.
national parks. We actually just today finalized our summer plans and we're going back to the same Fiji place, but we're
Oh,
also going to Tonga, which is another country that's just a 4-hour flight from there.
yeah.
So it just opened up this whole world of opportunities. And my husband and I were saying other parents that have autistic kids need to know that this is possible.
Yes.
Oh,
Absolutely. So if there's parents listening who maybe they can't take those big of a vacations, but they
yeah.
want to do something, what are some practical things that they could do or they should know ahead of time as they're planning? Because I'm sure there are parents like that felt like you that kind of just gave
Right.
up on the idea of it. So
Oh, of
what
course.
practical tips could you give them?
So there's a couple. The first one for the parents that say they can't do it. I heard this from a friend of mine, and it was such a great starting point of if you say you can't do, what is one thing if you were to just if the world was infinite in resources and such, what is the one thing that you would need in order to make this happen? So start there.
Yeah.
And the second thing is when you are traveling, especially when you have a neurodivergent kiddo, the travel day starts from the moment they wake up. So it's not when you get to your location, but it's when they wake up. As we know, our kids take demands very differently. So it starts with the brushing of the teeth and the clothes you wear and how long they're in the car to get to the airport. How busy is the airport? The travel line, all of those things, the standing in line and the crowds to board, the airplane, all of that.
Mhm.
So I know a lot of the time parents are like, oh, my kid can't sit on the plane. They won't make it. But we need to start thinking and game planning from the very beginning. And the way to help support that is knowing that you are allowed to take up space. Your kiddo is allowed to take up space in this world, in the airport, on the airplane.
Yeah.
And when you go through security, go through the handicap line because there's so many less people. And I've
Yeah.
had such great experiences. Now, you do get the situation where it's like, well, why do you need it? And you have to explain,
Right.
and you just have to mama bear your way through it.
Yeah.
But there are times when it is just great and a wonderful experience. And the same thing boarding a plane or boarding any other type of transportation is don't do the family boarding, do the handicap boarding, the one that's even before that, because those are the lines where you're not pushed, you're not stressed, you can take your
Right.
time, there's no one in front of your kids. And that's always been our biggest thing because once my son is in a seat and like he's got his tablet, he's got his activity, he's fine.
Right.
But if I don't make sure that I like mama bear bubble him
Mhm.
getting onto the airplane, then it's like a whole mess.
Right. Yeah, that's good because I know that there are parents that probably felt like you did and just
Yeah.
wanted to give up the whole idea. So that's great. That's great advice for them. So your clinic is in California. If there are people um, in other places besides where you are, what should a parent be looking for when they're looking for a therapy clinic?
Yeah. So, one of the things that I mentioned that we do here is we allow our parents to come and be in our sessions.
Yeah.
For me, if there was a clinic that told me that I could not participate and could not be there,
Yeah.
that immediately for me shows that they're not as open to listening to what I have to say, what my concerns are at home, and adjusting what the goals are depending upon what I'm struggling with
Yeah.
that day, even.
Yeah.
So that would be my biggest thing is to always ask and see how much parent involvement is in the therapy sessions, is involved in the clinic.
Right.
Um, Transparency and communication. When you start talking with the clinics, see how well they're open to discussing concerns with you or getting information about the therapists that are seeing your kiddo. All of those things really kind of give the clinic a picture on how they support and how they facilitate the kiddos.
Yeah, that's very good. I could talk about autism all day long.
Yeah.
All day long. There's
Yes, I
so
hear
many
you.
things to cover. Is there anything I have not asked you about that you would like to tell me about?
Yeah, there's one thing that I've done that is really exciting. We've talked about how there's not a lot of information out there for parents, and they don't know where to go, or you go onto Google, and then you end up in the deep, dark, scary web
Right.
of misinformation and things like that. I've recently created something that I'm really excited about. It's using AI, and I know people can be nervous about AI, but I
Yeah.
promise you, this is this amazing piece of information that it is essentially my brain, and you can ask it any question.
Oh,
And what it does is it will give you an answer in a neurodiverse, affirming manner. It will give you the empathy and support that I give my parents and my families. And it will give you information to your questions using reputable scientific data and also link the scientific explanation
wow.
and observations tied to your question from the most recent study that was completed.
Oh, wow.
And in order to get that, you just have to go to my website. It's connectiontherapyclinic.com.
Mhm.
And you go to me, Stephanie, about me. And it's right there. You just click the link and you get access to it. And right now it's free. Um, Next month, it's going to be one of those month paid subscriptions, but it's
Okay.
super affordable, only $15 a month.
Yeah.
But it's a great resource and it definitely keeps you from getting into the deep, dark scaries and away from misinformation.
Yeah, there is so much information. We are overwhelmed with information, so it's hard to navigate through all that. So I love that, and I'll make
Yeah.
sure to have that specific link. I'll have your
That
website listed, but I'll make sure to have that specific link so people can
perfect.
find it. Stephanie, this has been wonderful. I really could talk to you all day long. I mean,
Yeah,
there's just so much to talk about, so many, things to cover, but I
absolutely.
love what you're doing. I think it's so important. And, as a mom of a child with autism, which he's not a child, he's a grown man, but
Yeah.
he's my baby.
Yep.
I appreciate your work. I think it is very, very important. So, thank you for
Thank you.
talking to me today. I
My pleasure.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
I will be in touch with you soon. Thank you so much, Stephanie.
Yeah.
Enjoy your day.
My thank you. You too. Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.